Let's now get the sentiments of the outgoing Agriculture Secretary. Joining us now on the line is Secretary William Dar. Good morning, Secretary. Thank you for taking our call.
Good morning, Ria. Good morning to all.
Sir, we would first like to get your reaction on the decision of President-elect Bongbong Marcos to take over the Agriculture Department when his administration starts on June 30th. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, this is a welcome development because now agriculture is put to the pedestal as a topmost priority of the economy of the country. So this is a positive development. I have always advocated for agriculture to be given that the topmost priority. Now there is political will of President Bongbong Marcos, and hopefully the budget that is needed now to propel this to a higher growth level will be there. And of course, I like what he said. We will also look at the present looming food crisis brought about by Ukraine war, and we really have to intensify and boost productivity so that we can have more food to eat during this time of uncertainty. And the restructuring of the department is also necessary.
Right.
So we again support this move by the president.
So, sir, as you said, I believe it was last month that you yourself did warn of that food crisis. Of course, that's because of the pandemic, the fuel prices, and the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine, as you said. Tell us a little bit about what is the situation looking like for the second half of the year. How can we prevent or mitigate this?
Well, number one, rice production. We need to have additional fertilizer subsidies to give rice farmers so that they can sustain, if not increase, the productivity of rice production. The data indicate for the first semester of the year, there is now a contraction of rice production by more than 6%. So this is now an impact on the lower fertilizer usage. So if we have to sustain, if not increase, this wet season planting, it's not too late. We need to really subsidize fertilizer for the rice farmers.
All right, so there is still time to do that. Now, President-elect Marcos said that he wants to, of course, increase food production and restructure the Agriculture Department. What would you recommend to him in terms of addressing the food shortage and to meet the demands of the growing population? And what about the Department of Agriculture exactly needs to be restructured?
Okay, number one, in regard to this looming food crisis, we have put in place an action plan that needs to be properly implemented and resourced. There is this platform of Plan Program Part 2 with the bottom line goal of really leveling up food production in the country, boosting productivity levels of farmers. And the action points, number one, balanced fertilization strategy with more use of locally produced biofertilizers put up in a big way, of course, have more fertilizer subsidy in place. And the second action point is the local feeds formulation and production, because most of these feed inputs are also imported. We now have to harness the locally produced raw materials. The third action point, Ria, is about urban, peri-urban gardening. We have to prop up vegetable production also in provinces that are not visited by typhoon. So, and the fourth one is enhancing aquaponics, aquaculture, and mariculture fisheries. This is one good way to really enhance fish supply. And the fifth area is food mobilization, where produce from one province that are in excess, you need to mobilize this towards the markets in metropolitan areas.
Sir, In previous interviews, you said that the Agriculture Department has been neglected for the past several decades and it needs more funding. Can you paint us a picture of how much the industry really needs versus how much it's actually getting?
Yes, this is also one priority area that the President will have to tackle because this is budget season for next year, 2023. All these previous years that I have the chance to submit the budget to Congress, we submit more than 200 billion pesos a year requirement. Like for 2021 and 2022, and 2023, we submitted minimums 250 billion peso per year. Now, what do we get annually now? We have only 85.5 billion pesos.
Wow, so that is really, really lacking. So aside from that, Secretary, what else should be done to improve the agriculture sector? For example, we know that you've been pushing for the use of modern technologies and innovations. How far have we gotten here?
Yes, these are now in place. We need just to enhance. We really have to use the best of modern technologies and innovations. We need now to enhance digitalization of agriculture and the restructuring, the human capital that is needed also has to be there. So you asked me this question of what restructuring must be done. Mm-hmm. We need to strengthen our delivery system also in regard. Agriculture has been bifurcated. What do I mean? There is much that has been devolved all these years with the local government units. So now, do we want to continue with that framework, or do we have to have a relook whether or not those agricultural extension workers and facilities that have been devolved can be again renationalized? So these are the big thinking that also must come when you need to restructure the Department of Agriculture.
All right, Secretary, during the campaign of President-elect Marcos, he said that he would recommend a price cap on rice to bring down prices to as low as 20 pesos per kilo. That was the big promise. What are your thoughts on this? How doable is it? And what does he need to do to achieve this?
Priya, we have done the numbers crunching and all points out, meanwhile, that if this is an immediate aspiration, it will take some time before we can really go to that level. So we have a program formulated with the concept now in place, Masagana 150 for boosting inbred rice production in the country. Masagana 99 was the target previous years under then former President Marcos. Today, we are targeting for inbred rice production the level of 150 kabans per hectare. Then for hybrid rice production, this is to target about 200 kabans per hectare. So from the present level of 4 metric tons, hopefully in 3 or 4 years, we can go to the level of about 6-7 metric tons.
All right. So
average.
As you said, it's not something for the immediate term. Sir, thank you so much.
There are immediate ways with which we can go near the 20 peso aspiration of the BBM, Ria. Let me highlight that. Immediately, the President can issue an executive order increasing the buffer stocking capacity and capability of National Food Authority from the present 7-day buffer stock that we have based on their budget of 7 billion to a level of a minimum of 30-day buffer stocking. So you have just to give additional budget for NFA and the budget for capital expenditure. So by the end of the year, if that is possible, then they can have a 15-day capacity level of buffer stock. Then by starting next year, they can go to the level of 30-day buffer stocking.
All right, thank you for correcting that, sir. We do appreciate you being here on New Day. That was outgoing Agriculture Secretary William Dar.